Welcome to the second episode of the team selection series. In this, we're going to talk about why choosing the right people in the right roles is an important thing. And first, we're going to start with Good to Great as a book. I don't know if any of you have read it, and if you haven't, I really encourage you to. I have an online PDF copy, which you can find within the resources of team selection, so I really encourage you to read it. But if you have read it, it talks about three main focuses, and one of them being the disciplined people. Then you move on to discipline 4 and the disciplined actions for the flywheel effect. Now, the second thing that it focuses on covering is first who, then what. The whole philosophy is it's important to identify who the people are and then place them where they need to be, more than do it the opposite way around. Because at the end of the day, if you choose the right people for the right roles, then they're going to be motivated enough to consciously want to keep driving things forward. And it just holds like a really important aspect in team selection and team allocation in general. But let's take a few scenarios just in case that you're not too convinced at this point. So the first scenario is that your selection has finished and they were all selected into their roles without best understanding their strengths and weaknesses. Now it's 2 months later and you're having tension in your team as your VP Finance has always continued to miss the deadlines you set and struggle to help make financial decisions, and your LC is not growing due to the issues are not having any context behind trying to find solutions. The second scenario is that you finish your selection, and there were several stages, including personality tests and different assessments. And during the process, you actually reached out to all the MCVPs to ask what profiles are needed for their function. And you took this information on board, but realized that all potential finance candidates weren't suitable because they didn't possess the ability to meet strict deadlines and not have a strong focus on asking questions to better understand, but also help to analyze the current information available to help make decisions. Which one out of those two scenarios do you think makes more sense to follow? Now, most importantly, what we're going to go through is what are the pros and the cons for each scenario. So for scenario 1, the pros is it provides a very fast process, so it allows more time before the term begins. But there's multiple cons, with it being causing stress early on in the term. It could require people to move roles. It doesn't consider people's attributes, and it'll take first 3 months to gain the information you could have had before the term begins as a whole. The scenario 2, the pros, is the LCP will understand and connect roles better before the term starts, can begin to foresee any issues that might arise in team situations, and understand how best to work with each person on the team because they understand the strengths and the weaknesses, but also the leadership styles that every individual has. One of the cons might be that it's a longer process and it requires time and thought to get it right, and that it might mean not selecting all of the roles at the very first round. So how does this affect the rest of my term? That's might be what you're wondering. Like, okay, maybe I don't get the right people in the right roles, but surely I can change and I can adjust as we go. And the important thing to bear in mind is you have 12 months in your role. And even though 12 months sounds like a long time, 12 months will go faster than you'll know it. And before you know it, it'll all be over. And it's all about how can we capitalize on the time that you have and capitalize on the team that you have in the best way possible to get the best result. And its focus is on the concept of 5 dysfunctions of a team. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but I've also left the PDF of the book in the resources folder as well for you to read it because it's a very good read. There's 5 dysfunctions of a team, with the bottom one focusing on absence of trust, then fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. And the reality is, if you don't select the right people for the team, either in the right roles or within the team in general, then you're always going to be challenging yourself and facing yourself with these 5 dysfunctions of a team, and you'll never be able to get to what we call a performing team. So let's see how those 2 scenarios initially positioned, will play out. Scenario 1 is they constantly disagree with each other, and they don't have the trust in everyone's abilities that people can play within the team, and it leads to tension. So always pointing to a point of blame instead of thinking exactly what they can be doing themselves. Whereas the second one is After finally selecting the whole team, you're better able to understand what everyone's strengths and weaknesses were and how to best use them all the time. This means that people would challenge each other, but did it from a point of care as they could all see the contribution they're having. Even though challenges do arise, which is normal, the team would focus on trying to find solutions more than trying to find excuses. So in the end, proper team selection is the first decision you will make as an LCP. It has to happen before your term starts, and it's a very important one. So just make it a good decision. And next up, we'll be talking about how to identify your own leadership style and understand your strengths and weaknesses. Thank you.